For coming. please let the record reflect we have Councilwoman Herbert here. And has you had an opportunity to review the minutes yet? You're the only person at the meeting outside myself.
But
I've
whoever
reviewed
asks that question? That's not the question that you asked.
Do you have any proposed changes to the amendment?
I do
or
not
amendments to the
have
minutes?
I do not have any proposed changes to the
Okay,
minutes.
thank you. Is that motion to approve?
Yes, motion to approve.
Thank you. We're going to defer item 3 on the committee discussion to a later meeting. And so we have one item on the agenda today left, which is the Vista Guilds Public Art Placement Plan. Ms. Abby, would you like to take the floor and brief us on the next project y'all want to roll out?
Councilman Bailey, as she comes forward, do you second that motion?
I'll second that motion. I do.
All in favor?
Unanimously, yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for having me here today. The Vista Guild commissioned this public art placement plan with a local company that does this all around the country in hopes that we would get approval from the city for the future of public art in the Vista community. So a lot of these are on the public right-of-way, and so that's why we wanted to bring it before this committee for approval. Some of them are not, and all these locations haven't necessarily even been vetted. Some of them may not work out. But with our contractor that we used, we just kind of walked around the area, rode around the area, and tried to find the best spots that we thought that public art would make the most impact throughout our district. So I propose this to you guys. We've already come to this committee for the lights in the Lincoln Street Tunnel project that we came and talked about in September. And we would like to do a project in spring of 2025, which would be during Artista Vista is when we would like to unveil it. And it would be on, apologies, it is on page, there it is, page 14 of this public art plan. For this spring, we would like to put a sculpture. These are all murals, but we would like to do some kind of sculpture on the outside of the trash enclosure at the 1100 block of Park Street, which is right outside the Oyster Bar. So this is a new trash enclosure that opened in the spring of 2022. And it's been great for that stretch as they've added better sidewalks along that part of Park Street, eliminated some of the parking and just made it better for outside seating for these restaurants.
Can you slow down just a little bit?
Yes.
And tell me again where this is on Park Street.
So it's the 1100 block of Park Street. It's just near the corner of Gervais Street and Park. It is along the west side, where in 2022, they redid the sidewalks there and the trash enclosure that is now houses all the Herbie Kirby's for Pearl's Oyster Bar, the Oyster Bar, Columbia,
Yes.
and Pops.
No.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson, I have a public art placement application specifically for this. Was that sent to Mr. Simons or anybody else on staff?
I sent it to you originally in hopes of getting a letter of support, and I have that here. I sent it to the clerk this morning.
Okay, because my understanding was for purposes of today,
Yeah.
we were going to discuss the project that you just referenced near Pearls.
Yeah.
And not moving forward with the entire public art
Right.
plan for the Vista Guild.
So kind of twofold, right? Like we would like to present this to the city as the spots that we would like to put public art in the Vista over the next 5 to 10 years. And so it's finding out from this committee and y'all, the city, how that would work. Do we, each time we want to do a certain thing, do we need to come and present that and put in an application? Or can we give this to you guys, you approve it, and you know that over the next 5 to 10 years, these are the locations and kind of a general idea with some of the example photos that this is where we would do public art? Because we're not going to stray from this over the next 5 to 10 years after what we've had created.
About how many placements or projects are you looking at in total?
We typically do one a year. And so next year is going to be a little bit different because, as I mentioned at the September meeting, we got a large grant for the Lincoln Street Tunnel project. And so we usually try to unveil a new public art piece in April as part of Artista Vista each year. But next year's a little different because we're trying to do the Lincoln Street Tunnel in conjunction with the opening of Finley Park.
Mr. Simon, my question would be, is the purpose of the new public art placement plan was to kind of have a process where each public art piece is somewhat vetted, received by council, the council member supports it going to One Columbia and then traveling through. And if the entire plan was, I guess, approved, then it would kind of change how our flow chart works.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then plus, some of these items are in the right of way. So it has a process through Krista's group as well. So I mean, if you say you're gonna do one project a year?
That's our goal, with the exception of next year, but that's our goal is we typically already, as the Vista Guild, do one a year.
So I think to keep in line, just my thought, to keep in line with the art placement policy that we have in place, bringing them forth once at a time gives you all an opportunity to kind of hear the concept and the recommendation, and then that allows One Columbia to take a look at it as well. They come back, present, then it goes to full council for vote. Since there's only one being done a year, I think that would make it easier, and then we can keep in line with the policy that we have. That would be my initial thoughts.
Well, and I agree with that only because, especially as the future years come, we would want you to come anyway.
Yeah.
So that we would know about what was going on, because people would, like what the next project was. So to me, we would, at least the desire would be either way, you would come to this committee at least, or give us some updates so that we know ahead of time, and catch, we can answer questions accordingly. So if you have to come either way every year, I have no problems. I think it is better for each piece to be approved separately.
So can I ask a question on that? So because it is a 4-step process to where it comes to your committee and then it goes to One Columbia and then your committee, then council, I guess the question is, can this eliminate the first step of that process so that we can alert you that this is happening, but then ask One Columbia and say, would you support if we were to work with you on this process? And then we would come to you at step 3 and say, we made you aware of this. One Columbia is on board. Here's their letter of support. And then it would just eliminate that first round because you guys already see where we would put these public art pieces in the future. So I'm not asking not to come back because I do think it's important for you guys to know what we're doing. I guess I'm just asking to eliminate step 1.
And I don't think we can bind folks 5 years down the road to our decision today.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because first of all, we may not even be on this committee next year.
Yeah.
And the next committee may want something different. So I don't want to get into us making decisions that will impact or affect other council members in the future. They may see it differently, and let them do it. I hate to say it, but let them. Well, the process is the process.
Right.
It's kind of how I am.
Yeah, and the process was approved by council as a whole. It was voted on, it was on the agenda. And if we allowed a carve out that kind of circumvented the process without other council members weighing in on that, I think it kind of circumvents the purpose of having the policy set. So I don't think, and then 5 years, who knows what's gonna happen 2 years from now, 3 years from now.
Right.
So I wouldn't feel comfortable with a 5-year plan. I think that we're all supportive of what the Vista Guild wants to do with public art, but I do think with our process that we have, it allows for planning to give input, staff to give input on a piece-by-piece basis, because things could change, and then it will come back to us later on after One Columbia vetted it, and then we wouldn't have an opportunity to work out anything on the front end. It'll be kind of step 3 when we're coming in.
So that makes total sense. I think that with some of these, okay.
Well, so no, because I'm trying to think from your perspective.
Yeah,
Because I also want to make sure that we're not creating a 6-month process for you to go
right,
through.
which is what I'm trying to,
Right.
yeah, tone
So
down.
I guess, and asking staff and One Columbia, if it comes to us for that first presentation, is there any reason why we wouldn't be able to have it at our next meeting, which is a month later? I mean, is that a reasonable amount of time?
Really, I would lean into, you had to come to the microphone. I would lean into One Columbia on their process. Because we're gonna make the recommendation to One Columbia, so we really need to know how long it's gonna typically take them on average to get it back to.
It should only take us a few weeks, maybe like 2 weeks, maybe at the most. We can do it pretty quickly. But that will depend a little bit on whether it's a commission or whether it's a direct donation. Because as a commission, if we're partnering with somebody, we can work with them on the whole process. And that would be, if we agree to partner with them, that's an easier decision for us than to look at a piece of art that somebody's proposing. We would like to have some additional assistance from board members and things like that to make that decision. We don't want to make that decision ourselves, just me and Xavier.
And the whole goal, of course, is not to delay anything. We want to make it as smooth and swift as possible, but at the same time, following what we've established. So hopefully
And
helps.
it's a new policy, and I understand
Yeah.
that it's gonna, everybody thinks government's gonna go slow. Who knows if there's gonna be a meeting? I get it. But we've had these meetings to approve these so far, once a month. And I was just talking to staff, we're gonna have an arts meeting to approve projects on the flow chart once a month at least. And we could even do special call meetings to address stuff as well. So I don't think there's gonna be any problem with this committee slowing things up. And so I will ask that the community try to trust the process. And if there's problems, we can always, if it turns out to be a problem that's slowing up art, we can change things up. But I think right now it's working.
Yeah, so what it sounds like is present to us and then able to come back to us a month later and then on the next council agenda. So ideally, we're talking 6 to 8 weeks by my math. Or 2 months, not 6. And your thoughts on that? I mean, I think 2 months is not bad.
No, and I think that us having this now helps us because a lot of times we sit down as a committee and we go, where should we put this piece? What do we think? Let's reach out to Pamela. Let's talk about this. Where can we, da, 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 da. So I think that this helps us to kind of say, this is step one. And so as soon as we get our budget approved in July, we can say, let's immediately get on the calendar for them because we know that this is where we want to put something and let's come see the committee.
Well, that's what I was about to say too, because if it is an annual thing that you all do, let's aim to have a set time when you know that you'll come to us just to make sure that if something may take a little longer.
Yeah.
But I think you're right on track with that. I think that should work.
And Mr. Chair, Crystal, do you have anything to add to that since this is in the right of way? Any feedback
Oh,
on your
yeah.
end?
Does that
I want to make sure we.
I was going
Does that
to
add-
speak from my seat, but I didn't want to. No, I mean, we just processed the encroachment. So once it's been through all this, it's actually a lot more vetted than we currently do. So the process requires that the resolution's prepared by legal and the encroachment both at the same time. So they both go to city council at the same time. So it should be seamless.
Thank you.
So then I know that we just had this as your document, but can we potentially move forward with talking about that enclosure on Park Street as our next project? That is so embarrassing.
Well, let's take a quick break so we can look at possibly adding this to the agenda. We'll take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Recess.
recess?
on the record, recess is over. Ms. Anderson, we're gonna focus on page 14.
Correct.
Of the application, and we have your application.
Thank
It's gonna
you.
be added to the, meeting packet along with any letters of support from the committee. But if you could talk to us about the project near Oyster or Pearls.
Yeah, so we are interested in this trash enclosure that was created in the spring of 2022. That houses all of the roll carts that are for the Oyster Bar, Pearls, and Pops right outside of it. And so we think that this is a great opportunity to add some public art to it. I think that was discussed when it first went into place, but I think we're ready to move forward with that at this point. And we would like to do some kind of sculpture element to it that would kind of stick off of it as opposed to a mural.
Can you repeat that? You said it will stick off of it?
Yeah, like a sculpture. It won't stick off far, but just a sculpture that will just kind of be off of the surface of the brick a little bit as opposed to some kind of mural.
Okay.
No more than a few inches.
I was just wondering if we had a picture of this item that is recently.
Sorry, it's maybe page 21 in
Oh,
yours, because it's different.
Package number 21.
Okay,
To your right, the number in the bottom. There it is.
okay. Gotcha, thank you. Oh, okay.
And I believe there's a letters of support from the Vista Guild along with the VNA.
The VNA, and then also one of our businesses, Pearls, also gave us a letter. The Vista Guild, since we're doing it, we did not include a letter
Okay.
from us.
Well, I've reviewed it and I support it, so I'll be
Thank
adding a
you.
letter as
Thank
an
you.
amendment to the package. Councilwoman Herbert, any questions about it?
Have we talked to the Oyster Bar? Did I see
have.
that letter?
Submit the letter.
Okay.
The Pearls Oyster Bar submitted a letter, and I did speak with Mary Sparrow, who owns the Oyster Bar Columbia. It's Oyster Row. We're not going to do anything like that, but they both were supportive of us doing something out there.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know, because Mary would let me know. Mother Shucker. I
believe that,
Would
yes.
let me know.
So what's the name of this project?
We're going to come up with something better than what we have right now, which is just public art on the trash enclosure. But I think it's just, it's going to be our Park Street project. That's what we always called this, as we, I'm sure Krista knows that. It was like.
Park Street project?
Park Street.
project.
Park Street.
Okay.
Yeah. So ever since we kind of revitalized that west side of the street, it was forever our Park Street project. And so I think we're just going to kind of maybe bring life back to that.
Okay. Well, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Park Street project as described by Ms. Anderson to move forward with our public art placement plan. There's letters of support. I support it. And seems like the community does as well.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Great.
And you?
Aye. Any other questions? Councilman McDowell would like to express his regards for not being present today, but he has reviewed everything and he's in support as well.
Thank you.
That will bring our meeting to a closure.
can I ask
If have
one
a
more
motion to
question?
adjourn.
Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
So when we were here in September talking about our our Lincoln Street project in the tunnel, we then left you guys and we brought it to One Columbia and they have supported it. So can we get that on the record that One Columbia supported it to move on to the next phase of our process for the lights?
Is there anybody to speak on behalf of One Columbia President?
I think we have someone here today.
You think he put adding stuff on the agenda that he didn't tell people?
We've been working with the Vista on developing this project for the last several months. And so, yes, we do approve this project and we'll continue to partner with them on it.
Good, great. Thank you. Any commentary you'd like to add, Councilwoman Herbert?
Absolutely, of course. So my only problem is procedurally, we have not noticed this either, that we would be approving it and sending it to city council. So, in the spirit of transparency and giving notice to the public, I could not support approving the prior project because we didn't. That's just me.
Well, I believe what Ms. Anderson asked for was for it to be on the record. And so it's noted on the record that One Columbia supports it and will move forward with the process, but we can't go on a vote on it right now. Is that what you're saying, Ms. Herbert? And that's what my understanding of the request, because it wasn't on the agenda
Sure, got
for
it.
today.
Okay,
We would still have to give the public notice for them to come here and participate if they wanted to. But I wanted it to go ahead and be on the record, so it could be something that could be quickly possibly addressed on a future meeting where, just for the process, move a little more quicker.
got it. That makes sense. You guys know all that.
Councilwoman Herbert, she was, part of, like Beta Club and things like that in high school. She followed the rules. Clearly, I wasn't.
Okay, well, thank y'all very much for that.
Really?
So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, all right.